And all this comes from a president who, according to the Washington Post, has made over 10,000 false or misleading claims since taking office. That's a lot. I'm joined right now by Nina Kumar, White House correspondent for Politico, Glenn Kirshner, former federal prosecutor, Eugene Robinson, a columnist for the Washington Post. Gene, you write about everything wisely. Explain why the Trump, he is sort of the Trump. He goes to Georgetown. He gives him this tremendous wide-open interview thing for whatever reason.
For whatever reason.
To show off he's president, I think, is really what he was up to. He calls him little. He says he's a wise guy, which is kind of an ethnic slur in all kinds of ways. A little wise, a mobster, he's calling him.
Stuff up.
And all George is quoting is the president's own lawyer, who the president says, it's hard to believe he is president, the president says he told the truth because he wants to look like a good lawyer. Well, first of all, he's violating confidence with his client, the president. He's not gaining any points in this. He's just telling the truth.
Right, because he's under oath that if he lies, he can go to jail.
Good point. I mean, he doesn't, Trump doesn't understand that.
Disbarred. Also, the bad stuff can happen to him. So now the president did not put himself in that position. You know, he calls George Stephanopoulos a little wise guy because he points that out, and also points out just the fact that the president did not answer questions about obstruction of justice. He just didn't. And somehow Trump argues against just the fact. He just simply did not.
Glenn, your thoughts here. I have to ask you because you've been through a lot of this with me, and I think the 40-some%, and it's still there, about 40 to 45, somewhere in that range. People do not care how often he lies.
But what might change that is if the public can see a Don McGahn testify and say, listen, America, let me tell you what your president did.
Hope springs eternal.
Hope springs eternal. The glass is always half full.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what the president did. He told me to fire the special counsel, and when he said no because that might be obstruction of justice, I told him to lie about it and create a false document. I don't know what's going through McGahn's head, but when the president said McGahn lied to special counsel, he's not just calling him a liar, he's calling him a felon. And the question becomes, what's McGahn going to do? I think, Chris, McGahn might be waiting for, if we look through the lens of rational human behavior, maybe what he's waiting for is for a judge to say, all of these privileges that the administration is asserting, they're nonsense. Mr. McGahn, you're free to testify. That may be what he's waiting for.
Anita, somewhere we're waiting for truth.
Yes, but, I mean, the president acts like he spoke for 5 minutes. He testified, talked to them for 30 hours. So presumably they asked that question repeatedly. Not only that, but Robert Mueller and his investigators would have talked to other people who would have gotten other corroborating information. It's not just his word against his, right? So there's a bit more there. And remember how upset President Trump was when the Mueller report came out, right? He was the one person he was very upset with was Don McGahn.
Well, because he never thought he would tell the truth, probably.
I don't think he thought he'd sit down for 30 hours.
He doesn't understand people that tell the truth. I think that's unfathomable for him. Anyway, the last time Trump suggested McGahn had lied to the special counsel in May, last month, he then refused to say whether he thought his former White House counsel should be charged with perjury.
Is there a situation that you could see where Don McGahn is charged with perjury? You seem to be contradicting what he is.
Well, I don't want to talk about that now. We have other things that we're talking about, but I'll respond to that question at a later date.
What do we make of Fantasyland? Obviously McGahn wants to protect himself in this executive privilege litigation, but he lets out the word clearly on it was okay. But the president's denial is Fantasyland.
It is Fantasyland. And I can't believe that anybody who watches this would believe, as Anita said, that Don McGahn went in and for 30 hours lied to falsely incriminate the president of the United States.
He's a young lawyer whose entire bar status is at stake here.
Right. And it makes no sense because, you know, Trump calls George Stephanopoulos, hey, you're a little wise guy. Well, I'll tell you, let me use another phrase from criminal practice. McGahn gave up Trump hard in those 30 hours. And as soon as the American people get to see that firsthand, I think it could be a turning point.
I don't know if they're going to get to see that, right?
I think they will once a judge clears him to testify. Now, look, McGahn can't take it upon himself to say, I know the administration has said that these privileges apply. I'm going to decide they don't, and I'm going to walk into Congress.
Okay.
He's waiting for a judge to do
Point of law here. And I thought executive privilege meant the President Nixon in the old days talking to Kissinger about China or something. It really meant something. It's national security stuff. It wasn't criminal behavior. It wasn't about this stuff.
Right.
And by the way, what's to stop another person who no longer works at the White House for exercising the First Amendment. They didn't do non-disclosure agreements.
Well, some of these people don't have to listen to what the administration wants, right? Some of these things he's claiming executive privilege. Some of these other people he's not. He's just saying, don't testify, don't go to Congress and talk, and they're saying, okay.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.